Hi everyone, welcome back to Be Determined. You can see my boy Ryan in the background, but today's episode, we're talking about smut. And we're not just talking about any smut, we're talking about infamous smut. Now, if you've been in the anime community as long as I have, and I've been in this community for a long time, you know about two things, and you know about two things you shouldn't see. Boku no Pico and Metamorphosis. Now, I could justify the one, I can't justify pedophilia. So,
look, Boku no Pico is a good story.
I don't know what it is. I refuse to learn what it is. It's an area of discussion I won't go to. So, Metamorphosis is what we're talking about today. And here's a trigger warning for a lot of things. Rape, incest, which is like, if you read hentai, I think 99% of hentai anyway, but incest, they have weird kinks.
I know y'all have seen Oni Chi-Chi.
Yeah, weird kinks over there. That's fine. I don't care. Whatever. Here's what I care about. We all know Metamorphosis. We all know the cursed image of the beginning. And some of us have done the research to look up the Wikipedia article, and I have not done much more. Some of us have done something even worse, which is read the fucking thing.
No, I don't know what you mean.
And so, here's the thing. This month, Mikey and I have decided to talk about Metamorphosis. We've decided to talk about all of it. And I posed the question that there's two options. It's either smut or it's a weirdly well done story. Now, Mikey's on the opinion that it's somewhat of smut. He doesn't understand what possesses somebody to write something like that. I don't want to speak for him, but that's more or less what we got out of this. I'm of the opinion that art is art, and if I don't understand it, then I don't understand it. But you know what? It exists. So it's like, yeah, I can't justify Boku no Pico, same way I can't justify Lolita. It doesn't mean that Lolita's not one of the greatest written stories or one of the top 100 novels ever written. And it's a book about some old dude trying to bang his 13-year-old niece. It's fucked up, but that's what it's about, right? So here's the thing about Metamorphosis. I'm just going to say off the bat, it was weirdly feministic. It was weirdly about identity. And it does this wild thing of like forcing you to root for Yoshida. I don't know about you, Mike, but I was rooting for the girl.
It's strange. Like, the whole fucking thing just made me feel things and do things that my brain is screaming at me no, but my heart is like, hell yeah, boy.
It's like, go for it, kid.
Yeah.
But it's like you're like hearing it, and it's like you're hearing her thought process. You're watching her go through agony, go through this hell, and in your head you're like no, like you should be doing this. But like, I think if she was 2 years younger, I would feel, this is gonna sound fucked up, more sympathetic.
I can agree,
because
yeah,
because here's the thing, it says she graduates middle school, so it made me think she's like a freshman. And I don't know what time I don't know when your guys' high school starts, but ours starts when we're 14.
Ours starts when we're 11
for high school.
Yeah.
Really? You start that young?
Yeah.
Or is that called primary school? What's the difference?
So primary school is year over here. The way with year it is years 1 to year 6.
Okay.
So that is kind of like, you have like your nursery and receptions when you're like a little kid, and then you go through primary school, elementary school for yourselves until you're like 10. So it depends on when you're born as well, because you might be like one of the older kids and you might be one of the younger kids. Typically, I'm speaking from my own experience, that when I started year 7, which is the first year of high school, I was 11. And then we have year 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it was 11 years old, 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old, 15 years old, and you would start college when you're 16.
That's young.
2 years of college, you become 18, and then once you're 18, you're an adult, and then you go off to university, or you go into work, or you do whatever you want to do.
Okay, so the way that we do it is you have grade school or elementary, which is like up until about year 5. So like you're year 5. Then year 6 to 8 we call junior high. So like junior high school, you get your first locker, that type of thing. And then high school is 14 freshman year to 18 senior year. Yeah. And then after that, that's when we go off to university. So it seems like it's the same amount of schooling before you actually go off to like a university college type situation, but it's different wording. So
I think we got less stages in our school system than you do. That's the main difference. Yeah.
And that's fine. Some like middle schools are 6th to 8th grade, so it's like you're starting high school when other kids start middle school. So it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
But my point being is, so I looked it up in Japan. Middle school is ages 12 to 15. So she graduates middle school. I didn't know if you noticed the little gag. It was the 69th annual. So nice. But like she graduates middle school, and it was like 6 days after her birthday. So she had just turned probably 16. So she just turned the legal age of consent in Japan.
Yeah.
Where she's from. Now, for those who don't care, this is important because it means that she's barely legal. She's barely legal in terms of like what you're going for here. And what you're finding is now afterwards, she is like, you know what? I don't have any friends. I want to make friends. That's all I want to do. I want to fit in. And then the rest of the story is her doing anything and everything to fit in and watching that descend into her being taken advantage of. Her meeting this guy Hayato, who drugs her the first time he meets her and makes her call herself a slut. He bestows the identity of slut upon her. And then someone's like, well, you could get paid to have sex, you know, that's a thing. Or not paid to have sex, paid to date this guy. And then someone offers her $120,000, $200,000 to fuck him. And she's like, I'll just pretend like I didn't want to do it. And it's like this weird thing where it's like, if you look at her actions, like, yes, she likes having sex, but let's face it, Mikey, who the fuck doesn't besides asexuals?
Literally. And like, that's like my whole issue here with like, is it smut? Because as you said earlier on in the video, where I'm of the mind where it's what would possess someone to make this? But it's not that I'm saying it's not an art form, because come on, this is the guy who watched Game of Thrones, and like pretty much I'd say that that's worse than this. What I mean by this is, so the difference to highlight here is, and they're totally two different mediums, but Game of Thrones, for instance, is a literal drama TV show fantasy. This is made for hentai purposes.
Yes.
It is, and that is my issue with it. If you made this as just a flat-out manga, if you made this as, or any kind of story, whatever genre you want to put it in, the fact was, you made it for the purposes of a hentai so people could get off on it. And that is what makes me go, what would compel you to do that?
And I completely agree. Like it's a weird, now to me, it's like, so medium as from a writing standpoint, where you decide what genre you decide to put things in is almost as important as what you're writing. If you write a story about people going to space and they're teenagers, and you put young adult sci-fi, that puts you next to Divergent. That puts you next to whatever. So this puts itself smack dab in the middle of, I don't know rape hentai because I don't read rape hentai. It'd probably be better for me to say I don't read hentai in general, but that'd be a lie. So like,
be honest with yourself. Yeah,
I'm not a liar. All right, I'm a lot of things. I'm not a liar. But like, where we're getting at is it puts itself in the middle of this. It puts itself like you have, like, not you have to, but think about, I think it put itself here because, and this is gonna sound weird, it would get more exposure from it.
And like I 100% agree that definitely put it in this category, get it more exposure, but at the same time, what it does well, and honestly, this is the only way that I can think of, is that this would do a very good job of calling out all the degenerates. Anyone who is reading this for actual reading purposes, because don't get me wrong, and this is for viewers' sake as well. Just because it has sex in it doesn't automatically mean it has to be a hentai. That is the publisher and the author's choice.
Of course.
There are so many dark manga that include rape, that include, unfortunately, the sexual assault toward children. And obviously we can go the other way as well. Gruesome murders, deaths, gory scenes, all that it could have gone into, be it, I don't know, some kind of horror category, some kind of mature adult category. It didn't need to classify itself as a hentai. And it's honestly, with the story that's underlying it as well, behind the obvious screaming hentai that is in your face for a lot of the content, it has a relatively good story that could have been could have grown upon, and could have probably had more chapters as well if you put yourself into that category.
Now, I will say, and this is the thing. After reading the afterword, I think the author themselves, I don't know if it was male or woman that wrote it, but they originally just wanted to write a Gijo. What the hell is it called? What are those stories where they're like trying to? I sent it to you. A kogai. What the hell is a kogai?
Oh God, Japanese terms.
Yeah, but I forget what a kogai is, but that's what the original story was supposed to be, and then they just added the drug angle to make it make sense, and then they expanded from there. So I think not that they were stuck in it, but it's like they were stuck in it in the sense of like, I wanted to make this, and I was setting out to make a regular kogai hentai, but now I'm not. Now I set up a lot of building blocks for a story.
It's kogai is a Japanese fashion culture, so much similar to gyaru fashion, which is copying Western kind of takes. Kogai involves girls wearing an outfit that's based upon school uniforms, or in some cases, their actual uniforms. These girls may also wear loose socks and scarves and have dyed hair.
Gotcha. So the original purpose was to probably do that first scene, and then he added the heart thing. Sorry, that was my phone. But like added the little heart drug thing. And I think that kind of changed. I'm assuming it's a dude, but like the author added the drug, and then that angle kind of switched a lot. And this is going to sound weird, but you know what I noticed?
Yeah.
The art was also better in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you could say that.
Like not in terms of like the way the peepees were drawn or boobies were drawn, but like the shot choice, the way it like I'm bringing up the scene on page like 166 where it's her floating in the abyss after taking heroin for the first time.
Yeah.
That's a very non-hentai fucking panel.
Exactly.
Page. Like there's no reason to have that. So I think there's a lot going on here, and it's like weird. I hate to say it's weird to talk about, but the reason why I keep stressing it's weird to talk about is because I've tried having this conversation with so many anime heads, and all of them, not that they say the same thing, but they get to this like a similar point where it's like, why do you want to read that? It's like, because somebody wrote it. like no, I don't want to watch the Human Centipede, but I also want to see what it is. It's the spectacle. It's the night.
You know what? It comes around to another thing, I reckon. And it's a major thing in a lot of mediums, which is FOMO. It's such a FOMO moment, whereas this is like one of the major things in the hentai community, which does kind of make me a bit concerned that it's become such a major thing. Like, don't get me wrong, I know it's not going to become a major thing for the right reasons, but then it does make me think, the people who originally had to read this to then bring it, like, they're the fucked up ones.
Yeah, they wanted to read it, and they want, like, look, it's like, people, like, listen, all right? Don't kink shame. Kink shaming's bad, yada, yada, yada. I get it. However, if you're into children, fuck you. Like, I hate to say it, but fuck you. Like, and by I hate to say it, I mean, I'm glad to say it. I, like, you can sit there and try to justify it. If you're looking at a character who's drawn, mind you, who looks like a 5-year-old, but they're actually 3,000, and you're into that, I have questions. That's not my thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's just not my thing. I'm not into CNC. I don't get it. If you're two consenting adults, do whatever the fuck you want. That's on you. That's not me. But like, this gets down to like a lot of stuff where it's like, okay, this was something not just the fuck out of here. God damn, I have like one fly down here that keeps flying right in my face, which is what makes me so mad about it. But like, we get to this weird spot within the story where I think it's around chapter 4, and she starts getting those piercings. She's so drugged out of her mind, and like it all stems from the first time she has sex, honestly. He says he loves her, but she doesn't even know his name, and even if it's a lie, I'm so happy. And
that was in like the first chapter, wasn't it? That's like the first panel, yeah.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Yeah, it's the first chapter. I'm saying this is where it happens. This is where we get everything setting the story up. which is why I'm saying it's a much better written thing than anyone would expect.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
like he refuses to listen to her multiple times. Like she's like, no, stop, I don't like no. But he gives her this new identity while they're having sex, and then where is it? Is it right here? That has to be it. After all, it feels so good. This must be what love is. So now, for the rest of this story, from the first time she has sex, from the first time she's shown positive male affection, and if you notice from the beginning, she is somebody who craves attention. She will associate sex or associate love with this intoxicated feeling of being drugged, kissing, and having sex, and fucking.
See, she's been indoctrinated into this. This is Stockholm syndrome to the next level. This is all the shit that, you know, they forged her into this character. And the sad thing is, it hits so many nails on the heads for what happens in real life as well. Like it's acutely accurate. And again, this is why I'm so thinking about why the fuck is this a hentai? Like it's so fucked, dude. So fucked.
Yeah, it is. And it's like we can like, but the thing is that we can talk about it, and that's why I've been trying. Like, I don't want to be like, part of this was to destigmatize it, but like part of this is to destigmatize it. Like personally, I have no problem going into my personal family drama. Similar situation happened to my family where somebody passed away, and like that's tough. Like that really is fucking tough. I'm not just saying that to say it. I'm saying it because this always hit home to me. This always was like, fuck, I know someone who went through this and ended up passing away, ended up prostituting themselves. That sucks. That's a fucking horrible thing. But you know what's even more horrible, Mikey?
Yeah.
The refusal to talk about it. The refusal to be like, oh, it's hentai, I won't talk about it.
Like, no, 100%. You know the biggest highlight for how harsh this manga is, though?
What?
And I know there's obviously loads of them out there, and it's just part of the reason that is highlighted so much. But the fact that it has only remained in manga format as well. I can think of hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of hentai mangas and novels that have been adapted not just into hentai anime, hentai games, other mediums.
I heard
there was even fucking what was it called? There's one that's just as bad as this. I think I might actually, please don't judge me, guys. I might actually have the game downloaded on my system for education. There we go. Euphoria. If any of you know what Euphoria is, this is on the same level in terms of darkness. Like they're totally two different stories.
Yeah.
Well, like that is my point here. Like even Euphoria managed to get an anime-related game and an anime itself. This hasn't. Like that's how bad this shit is, and like that's why it has such a stigma.
And it's it's like the Human Centipede. It's like a Serbian film where it's like these are media that no sane person wants to watch this. No sane person wants to go out of their way and read this. But I'm not sane, all right? I'm gonna say it. I'm not fucking sane. But what I am is a storyteller, and it's like, okay, let's look at the merit of the story. Let's look at what this is. And being a piece about identity, being a piece about a girl who, let's face it, she likes having sex. Who gives a fuck? Women can like having sex. I don't give a shit. But why does she like having sex? Because she's drugged every single time. Because every single person that's a dude that's in her fucking life is just taking advantage of her over and over and fucking over again, dude. Like, how can you, like it boggles me.
Exactly.
Like, or like, you know what fucked me up too? With her dad. Like, her dad takes advantage of her. That's disgusting and horrible. Presses on her navel. But then when she gets with that older dude later in the manga who reminds her, she asks him to do it again. So, like, why? Why the callback? Why the parallel? Why? Like the question today is always going to be why, because it's like, it's hard to fathom. It's hard to process and look at, but honestly, I think it's that she has always associated from the beginning of this story sex with love. And so like her father fucking her, which is disgusting, mind you, is her weird way of feeling like this person actually cares about her. Her feeling like her dad really wanted to see her and be with her, which is a horrible thing. And that's, again, take the parallel to real life. People do that all the time. People associate sex with love. So there's a lot of people that want attention, male and female. And it's like you could get attention one of 3 ways, one of which is typically easy, which is sexual. I know probably 2 or 3 different girls that did that in high school and like college. Just known them throughout my life, where it's like you hear the story and it's like they were frisky, but it was like they were frisky because they wanted that type of attention. And that's a really real thing. It happened. I'm sure you know people like that. It's tough. You have that way. You have the way of overachieving for academic success or success in sports or success in anything. And that's the way you get attention because you feel like that's the only way you can. And it's like, or you have the way of negative attention where it's still attention. So you act out, you beat, you attack, you do things. And that's another way. So it's like this is just a young, like she's 16. It ends when she's 19 is what the assumption is. But like, that's 3 years of her life being like, she chose it. And like, yes, we can sit here. At some point, there is a personal responsibility. I'm not saying there's not. But like, this is someone who, from the beginning of the story, didn't have the self-esteem to stick up for herself. When was she supposed to get it when everyone in her life who was supposed to be in her corner abandoned her?
Yeah.
Like, no fucking offense. But like, if your dad comes in, like, if your dad comes into your room, assaults you, that's fucking horrible. God, my heart goes out to you. But your mother's response is that it's your fault and not the adult, not the person in the position of power over the child. I feel like that's all I'm saying. Like that's weird. That's a very weird.
It's fucked up, and some people are like, I don't understand people who will ever side with their partner over their children in situations like that. It just fucks me up. I don't get it at all.
You see, here's the thing. How do I say this? Mike.
Yo.
I think it's important to look at things and be like, I get it, but that does not mean I agree with it. And it's hard to take that position on things like this. Like, no, I get it. I just don't agree with it. Like, the answer is probably she didn't want to ruin her life, who she thought she was, who she thought her husband was. Like, that's the only thing that makes sense to me, where it's like, you want, everything has been fucked beyond belief. And so you have 2 options. Accept the new reality or cling to the old one. And the new one is your significant other is a child rapist. And the old one is, you know, my child is a brat. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that's the problem. Like this entire story, I kept going like, why is there not one good person? Also, by the way, that ending, dude, it wasn't just brutal. It wasn't just brutal. It was more than brutal. It was when I watched the blood leave as she was trying to walk away and put her glasses on and she breaks the mirror and looks at herself, I knew not only was she dead, but that baby was gone.
It was that ending was rough. Like, oh god, man. And the fact that it's so open-ended is the problem. Like, the denial part of me just wants to keep saying no.
Because you want her to succeed. You want her to get better.
Yeah.
But like, again, I think this adds a big part of it is the audience perspective. I think the audience is as much of a character as everyone else, and I don't think it was intentional. I think it just happens by nature of reading. And what I mean by that is we could easily see this girl on the street every single day, you and I, and we would never ever think of reaching out. We would never in a million years be like, are you okay? Do you need something?
Yeah.
Because why would we? Like, it's like we view her the same way she views herself in a lot of ways, which is again a weird, like the word, it keeps being weird, but it's like, it's not weird, it's surreal, it's artistic in a lot of ways. Like every time she thinks in her head, she's like, I don't like this. No, I don't want to kiss him. I love Hayomi or Hitomi, whatever the fuck his name is. That
Hayata.
Hayata. I don't give a shit what his name is. I fucking hate him. I hate him as everything there could be. Also, when, I don't know if you picked up on it, because I didn't pick up on it the first time I read it. When she's out down the stairs trying to figure out what to do because he won't talk to her anymore, and he calls another girl over and is like, it's like, we never meet at your place, and she looks exactly like Sheeta.
Yeah.
Is it Sheeta? Yeah, Sheeta.
Yeah.
Looks exactly like Sheeta. Like, that's so heartbreaking. Like, girl can't catch a break, and then reading the author being like, yeah, I knew the heroine had to die. It, like, I know originally it was open-ended, but the author came out and literally was like, no, I knew she was gonna die. I knew that. And it made me really sad that I had to do it, but I had to.
Yeah.
And we keep hammering in on the same topics, but it's very much take the moment and think. Let's just take this time and ask ourselves, like, just why? Or not why. Let's not ask why. What purpose do you think this story ends up serving to those who would actually read it in their free time?
I genuinely, hand on my heart, believe that anyone reading this in their free time that isn't for purposes that are similar to ours need to ask themselves why they're reading it first. Genuinely. Yeah. Why are you reading this? Yeah. You've gone into the hentai section, be it online or in an actual store, and you have picked this up knowing full well it is a hentai. So you're going into this expecting to bust a nut.
Yeah.
You may have flicked through already. What compels you? Genuinely. Because like I seriously, whether it's something to relate, maybe it's something to help you if you're going through a similar situation and maybe you want something to relate to, see it written down. I don't know. I don't want to speak for people.
Of course.
My genuine reaction is I don't know anyone who would pick this up knowing that it's, again, in the hentai section. If it was in a different section, fine. I could understand it. It's got a good story behind it. Again, relating it back to the parentage thing earlier, the one thing that really gets me personally is that when her mum says to just know that no matter what happens, I'll always be on your side.
Oh, that broke me. That broke me knowing what was gonna come.
And, like, well, she wasn't on her side no matter. Like, she said the words a parent should say, but she didn't follow through.
Yeah. And I mean...
And, like, it hits on all the darkest notes. You know, you've got your rape, you've got your family being torn apart, you've got you being neglected by your parents, you've got your all kinds of harm that you're causing to yourself. All the things that come to a good drama, all the things that come to a good, even horror novel. But at the end of the day, it could have all those good things. It is still classified as a hentai. Someone's written all this for the purposes of you getting off to her pain.
And here's the thing that I find so interesting is that I don't want to be the one to say it. I will say it. The sex scenes are incredibly well drawn. And if you, I'm not gonna sit here and fucking lie to myself, all right? Like what I'm trying to say is, I don't know about you, but you know, if you're like going through like a lot of like, how often do you actually read what's on the panels in a hentai? Like I know that there's a percentage of people, myself included, where it's just like, I'm just skipping, getting to the scene, not reading a fucking thing, looking at the pretty pictures. And that's a fucked up thing to say, but it's true. So like, I wonder how many people have done that with this, where they've actually just not given a shit about what was on the page and just went there, saw the pretty well-drawn pictures, and just kind of started stroking their shit.
Like, and that is kind of like, so this is where my other problem comes in. Okay, I'm relating it back to something I said earlier. If this was a hentai, as in video form, I would have a totally different opinion. Because there's so many hentai where you just skip to the good bit and you ignore the fucking story. Okay, there's so many people who I know and stories I've done that to myself. When you pick it up in book form, you are a connoisseur. I do not know how many people would actually buy a hentai manga or even look at a hentai manga online unless you're looking at it for the story. Because if you're not looking at it for the story, you're just going to watch a video. It's just like if it's not hentai, if it's just porn. Who buys porn magazines anymore?
I don't know.
It's all on Pornhub.
Yeah.
So like, it's the same kind of thing. I can't literally think of any good reason or any defense for someone picking this up who are not trying to bust a nut to it. If you are into sadism, if you are into misogyny, if you are into any of that, fine. As much as it kills me to say it, I get it. This reeks with it. It's dripping from its fucking pages with that shit. Okay? I am not here to kink shame you. Do I agree with it? Absolutely fucking not. But I guess there's always got to be something out there to please the masses, but genuinely, it's like when there was that new thing that was going around, and basically pedophiles are trying to classify themselves now as something like child sexual, or they're attracted to children.
You're thinking of MAPS, minor attracted person.
Thank you. Okay, you read something along the lines of this. Maybe if they're slightly younger than this, you're basically calling yourself out as a map. If you are a map and you're trying to fucking find content that's specifically to this, I'm sorry. I'm got my head in my hands, shaking my face at you because like that's what I feel like this shit is geared towards, the degenerates in society. And don't get me wrong, in any other medium, I'd be fine with it. Put it in a drama, put it in a horror. I get it because that adds to it so much. It can add character depth so much. But when it is written and done for the purposes of someone to just fucking jerk the meat off to it, I digress.
It's weird. It's one of those things of, yes, sheep. I want to point this out. I have no problem making enemies, and my enemies will always be the fucking pedophile community. I don't care. I call me sick, but I don't care. I have no problem being like, I don't fuck with you. I don't want. It's not my thing. I think you're wrong. I think you're stupid. Whatever. Where we're at with this specific, it's like reading Shota porn.
Oh god. Oh god.
But it's really popular for no reason. If you're reading up like hentai online, like it's very popular in like China and Japan. And like it's like, oh, that's gross. Like, yes, it is. Like, they have like very specific age groups that they really enjoy sexualizing, and that's not okay, but people like doing it. With this specifically, like, where I'm like trying to figure out how I want to say this properly without like, I don't want to say like making myself whatever, but like her getting the abortion, her fucking deciding to keep it when she gets pregnant again. I'm not gonna listen, I'm not here to make a statement about one thing or the other. I will say weirdly based that she decided to keep the baby the second time. Like, just weirdly based. She decided to. She wanted to get clean. We really wanted her to get clean, but she couldn't do it. Her saving up all that money to just be beaten by people that look like her old classmates. And it's like, it shows you like how much we look down on these people in this society without actually like giving them any semblance of humanity. We don't treat prostitutes with humanity. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, you know, like you have the whole sex work is real work. You have the whole sex positivity movement. You have all of this shit. And it's like, that's important. I'm not going to pretend like it isn't important. You should treat anyone who's human like they're human at all times. But it's like, if I were a father of a daughter or a father of a son, no, I'd prefer if they didn't go into prostitution or stripping. I would prefer those things for my children. Like, is that a horrible thing to say? Like, I feel like if you're one of those people that come out and you're like, how dare you say that? You don't actually care about hookers or strippers, because I don't know a lot of people that consciously make that decision if they have other options. Maybe they do, but I think more often than not, they're in the same situation as Sheeta. And by the same situation, that doesn't mean that every single fucking stripper or hooker is drug addicted or any of those things. But it's like, why are we going to pretend like there isn't inherent value within sex, that there isn't inherent things within it that exist? And like the story makes you ask that question because she at one point is like, oh, I love going bareback, I love this, like, oh, I don't want your filthy whatever. Like it still keeps hentai tropes, it still keeps like tropes because it's a slave to the genre. And that is the critique I will give it, that it really is the slave to its own genre. But like this weird spot that people like get in where it's like there's a difference between being sex positive and looking at sex work as real work and making it be a standard that you want everyone to go towards. Like, dog, if you're telling me I gotta lay pipe to make a couple $100,000, I mean, and I'm just laying pipe, is that, we might need to cut this out, I won't even lie to you, is that easier or harder than rocket science?
Oh god, Jesus, dude. Harder.
You're gonna say it's harder than rocket science.
I'm gonna say it's harder than rocket science.
You're gonna say going in and out of a hole a couple of times harder than rocket science.
Easily.
I'll call you a fucking liar, alright?
No, it's easy as fuck. I mean, come on.
And it's easy, it's easy as fuck, and it results in tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars. It's a 7-figure, like, I'll give it up to strippers because pole dancing is really fucking difficult. Dancing in general is a very difficult athletic career that you require a lot. Laying on your back and getting fucked, not as hard. I'm not gonna lie to you, not as hard. Like, And that sounds fucked up, and it sounds like that's not me shaming the person for doing it, because it's the oldest profession in the fucking world for a reason. Like, I just don't think a lot of the people that do that want to do that long term. Like, I haven't been in that situation, but I can't imagine people that have done that want to do it long term. I can't imagine Sheeta, who was 16, given drugs in this story, and then made the boyfriend, the first person who told first person who told her that he loved her, and then she would do anything to get that attention, to get that back from him, who then decided to pimp her out. I just don't think that that's the same thing, personally. Like,
yeah, it's not at all.
and it's like, you can say that, you can act like that, but like, people for some reason get so pissy when you make statements like that. Like, no, if you're someone who sells your body on the streets, I love you, I care about you, I want you to do the best for yourself. If you like doing it, continue fucking doing it. But like, what are you doing about the girls like Sheeta? And if you're like, oh, those don't actually exist, they do. I know they do. And I don't want to be a dick and be like, oh, I know they do for like this reason or that, Mikey. Like, I just know that girls like Sheeta exist, and the fact that one girl like Sheeta could possibly exist is one too fucking many to me.
I agree completely.
Like, that's just end of the line. Like, if you have no problem doing your sex work, if you like what you're doing, fucking go for it. Heart goes out to you. God damn this fucking fly. Anyway, heart goes out to you. I don't give a shit. I just find it so sad that this is the conversation. Like, I think ultimately what this manga was supposed to do was to open up a conversation like this, but it got stuck in the genre that it was in, and this was the only genre that would release it.
Unfortunately, relating back to our original question, I feel like it has so many makings of something that could be great, but because of its genre, it's smut, and that's all I can say. I think the thing that holds it back and keeps it down as smut is the fact that it's put in that genre.
But I will say this to you, and this is why I think it's not smut, and I think this is the important thing. You probably have talked about this manga more than most other doujins like it. You have probably talked about this one a lot more story-wise than content-wise.
Possibly, yeah.
This is one that is worthy of a video. Would you, like, you talked about Euphoria. Do you think Euphoria is worthy of the same connotation? Do you think other mangas that have similar fucked up shit happening in them need this conversation around them?
Hey. If people want to hear a conversation about Euphoria, I'm all for it, okay?
That's fair. That's fair.
Like, just like this one, Euphoria is smut. Just
Okay.
through and through. I just... There's...
It doesn't feel right calling it smut, though, right? It doesn't feel right.
No, but because of the category it is in, all it can be considered is smut. If they put it in a different category instantly, hell no, it's not smut. It just has a lot of sex in it, that's all.
Yeah.
But you put it in a category that's meant for people to jerk off to it, or, you know, women, I'm not speaking for you either, you might be into this kind of shit as well, but hey, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
You know?
Get your rocks off. If you want to get your... Yeah, it's made for you to get your rocks off, and yes, that is true, but it's like, even pornography. How often do you talk about a porno? The story of a porno. That's been a joke. That's been the joke in so many fucking movies. In Boogie Nights, in The Nice Guys.
Like, who actually sits and watches a 30-minute porno? No one. Not one person.
I couldn't name somebody who does. I know the theaters don't really exist anymore with the invention of online pornography, but the point being is they're not worthy of a 45-hour-long minute, like an hour conversation, because if they were, they would already be happening, but they don't. We don't talk about the merits, the art form, the work, because it doesn't. This is well drawn. This is well paced. It has a weird fucking callback. Like, it has weird callbacks foreshadowing this tragic story. And then if you just read the afterword by the author, he says, like, what it's about. Like, he says that it's the story of a girl who's just going through the most misfortunate situation that anyone could go through. And that's what he wanted to write. And, like, yes, there's a lot of sex, there's a lot of rape in it, but, like, ultimately speaking, if you're reading that forward, that afterward, it gives you the context of what it's about. Like, it's so much more than just smut to me. Like, yes, it's still fucking smut. I can't stress enough that it's still fucking smut. But it's like smut with a little asterisk, you know what I mean? Where it's like, yeah, you're smut, but, you know, there's people that jerk off the Donkey Kong porn.
Oh God, right. That's a whole other kettle of fish, as well. And then when we start tagging furries and stuff, those are different opinions. But like
what I'm trying to get at is like there's non-sexualized content that degenerates already sexualize and jerk off to because it exists on the internet. So
yeah,
what? Like my point is that why does the tag or the label given to it automatically dictate smut? Where if we're both agreeing that
okay, so this itself, because the category it was automatically put in, is considered smut, at least in my eyes. When you take something and you make it sexualized, the content itself is a smut. The person is smut / degenerate. That's the issue there.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's content versus the person themselves.
And that's,
this author could have written other mangas. Literally, it might not just be a hentai author. You know, I'm not calling them out as a person. I'm just saying this idea, this story that they had is smut.
It's hard. It's truly a hard story, and it's not one that I could have written. It's definitely not one. I don't want to say definitely not one you could have written because that sounds rude, but like I mean it as in like neither of us are willing to go to this depth.
Yeah.
Because why? I don't want to. It's not my thing. I don't want to write about a girl going through the fucking worst experience of her life and then at the end dying. I didn't want her to die, which is the thing that made me the most upset. I'm in
denial. I'm in denial.
I know you're in denial, but like I'm not. Like watching her bleed out after being horribly beaten. And it's like what made me the most mad is like, well, she's shaking her hips. It's like I think she's in a like dog, I think she's in a state of literally she has no identity. And it's like what would have made this story beautiful is if she found her identity, got out of it, and was able to have that ending that we both wanted with her daughter and like that type of thing. And that just isn't the reality. And we're stripped away from it. We're given a taste of what her life could have been if she just had somebody who actually gave a shit about her. She never once went to the police. She never once did any of the things that she should have done. But honestly, with the way that this story was going, if she went to the police, she would have been gang raped. And that's the problem. No one gave a fuck about her. And I think And I hate to gender the point here, but it's like I think this is a lot of like when no one gives a fuck about you genuinely, it's not that you become drug addicted or you become this. It's like it's tied to your own self-worth versus what other people are ascribing to you. If you have no self-worth and you are attention seeking, then yes, this is an option that you can get.
Yeah.
And that's what is so fucking heartbreaking. Like, fuck. I know we've talked a lot and we've gone in circles around the same points, but it's like I look at it like we're digging, right? We keep digging the same fucking hit points. You could say we're beating a dead horse, but it's like I'm digging because there's something deeper here that I really wanted to try to find. And it's like what I found was just this honest portrayal of what attention seeking and this lack of self-purpose, this lack of self-identity can do to somebody. Like I would never in a million.
Okay, let me put it into perspective for you why this gets me. Okay, you have a friend. Okay, and your friend has been raped.
Yeah.
We're getting dark here now.
Yeah. Okay.
In your mind's eye, would you beat your meat to the thought of her being raped or him?
Never.
So you reading this is virtually the same thing. You're beating your meat to someone being raped. Yes, you don't have that personal attachment to them, but okay, we could even broaden it out and just say you walk past a stranger, would you beat your meat to fucking thinking about them being raped? No, you wouldn't. So like that's how I see it. Like exactly the same way. Like I don't understand. Yeah, this is, you know what I'm saying? It's
how do I say this? Yes, you are 100% correct, and I think the problem with this manga specifically is that it is, like you said, it is hentai. It is something where it was made for people to beat their meat to or get off to or fucking whatever. But if you're reading it for a purpose other than that, if you're just reading it, in no way, shape, or form could I ever.
I don't know anyone who would pick this up for any other purposes. Just because of the category it's under. Unless, at this point, maybe. Sorry. I'm talking about like when it initially released. At this point, maybe just because of the stigma it's got and the popularity.
I was gonna say the infamy alone, I think, has garnered this manga the amount of attention that it needs to be a manga and not be hentai.
Yeah, that's the only reason that you would pick this up is based on its infamy. But even then, back in day when it wasn't as infamous,
when it was releasing, yeah, 100%. But like we're working out so much stuff with it because it's worth working out. It's worth having a discussion about. Like I don't know. Like I'll be honest with you, Mikey. Do you want to talk about whether or not Goku or Naruto is stronger? Who genuinely, who gives a shit?
I mean, I could debate that fact all day long and I'd be happy in the knowledge that I'd probably get like 90% of the anime community angry at me, but that's a debate for a different day.
Yeah, but like my point is like, yeah, I could talk about it, but it's like that's a conversation that's been had hundreds of thousands of times. If you've been into anime since 2003, you have probably had that fucking conversation at some point in your life. You know what conversation I think maybe has happened a dozen times? The one we're currently having. For to be determined, I want to try to continue with conversations that have happened a dozen times, not conversations that have happened millions of times. Because that's what's important here. Like, who gives a fuck? Who do I think is stronger? Isn't Naruto literally God? But like, anyway.
Oh, Beef, I love you.
Like, I'm just saying, isn't he the reincarnation of a god? But whatever. Other one, Monkey Boy, but we just, okay.
and gonna murder you.
and like, here's, you know, the worst part about it is, I like Dragon Ball Z as a story more than Naruto. When Naruto's a lot more about philosophy and less about fighting, Dragon Ball Z as like a action works a lot better. But like, if we're talking who is stronger, the one who's the reincarnation of a god, low-key. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
Like, Naruto at 17 versus Goku at 17, Naruto smokes Goku. Just saying. But like, and I'm not a Naruto fan. You know I'm not a Naruto fan. But like, anyway, the point being is like, we can talk about this like all day, all night. Like, I could go over the intricacies. I could go over the fucking, I can go over like her getting the heart eyes, her every single time she climaxes, like when she gives a blow job to the one dude in chapter 2, she's crying the entire time. If you notice, every time she has sex with someone who's not Hitomi or whatever, she is literally crying because she even when she likes it. Give me a second. This is her crying, being like, I don't want it. Let's see what even happens when she gets to it. She is sobbing as she's trying to forcefully get this money for Hitomi, and she can't even get a single cent from this guy. Sobbing. Like, not actually sobbing, crying, but like, there's always tears in her fucking eyes. Even like when she's selling herself, like, yeah, she likes it, but it's like, the only thing that makes her not cry is whenever she is high.
Yeah.
And it's like, these are the little things that are never said in this manga that just happen, that literally just exist. They didn't have to draw her with tears in her eyes, but they decided to do that.
Yeah,
Listen,
it's so deep, dude. It is rough. It is an emotionally taxing literature.
Yes.
To give it a more respectable title. It's rough. And I never intend to pick it up again after this video. Ever.
I'm gonna be real with you. I don't think I ever could read it again. I might. I won't try to though. Because I might want to do another video around it. I'm not sure yet. But like, we got to this ending. We got to her being pregnant and all this shit. And then we got where we needed to get. And like, I'm just gonna say it. Let's do our final thoughts, because you know what? I feel like the more we go, the more we're just gonna
go around in circles. And then
it's tough. Like, it's fucking tough, and that's it.
It's like, I've been pretty consistent. I'm still consistent. I think final verdict wise for this story in particular, if you had put it in any other genre, it would not have been smart. Not in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
The problem is that because it was put in Vanta, because the way it was done, I can only look towards the author / artist Shindo, who who made this piece of literature and just say you kind of brought it on yourself when people are bringing up this conversation. It's smart. You put it into the hentai category. If you put this into any other category, not only could you have had more sales because you would have been targeting a bigger audience, then you could have had a more respectable story and more content to go off of. And I think it's more of an L to have put it in the hentai category, and I'm sorry, it's smart.
I get it. I will say that I think the content of it is very difficult to get through. It's very difficult to digest, especially if you aren't into it or if you're someone who likes happy endings. That being said, regardless of genre, regardless of where it is, I have to say that the artwork in it, yes, even the fucking like the sex, like the artistry is really well done. The fucking story, the callbacks, the foreshadowing, the plot, the thematic structuring. This truly is just the story of a girl who you want to succeed but can't succeed. And honestly, with that being said, like, I'm not going to tell you to go out there and read it if you don't want to read it. I'm going to say it deserves every bit of infamy that it gets because what it's done is something that I don't think any other story has been able to recreate. I just don't. I don't think when we talk about Boku no Pico, no one gets to the end of the series. Everyone watches episode 1 and stops. This is a manga that you need to read to the end. And that's the point of it. Like,
yeah.
At this point, I think there's enough infamy around it that people aren't reading it to get a nut to. I think people are reading it to just know what the content in it is. And that's causing it to actually be something worth reading. But
I think what I am going to do, off the back of this, is I'm going to read Shindo's other 2 works to just maybe compare, because I know the 2 other works, the Pink Album and TSF Monogatari.
I never heard those. Are those good?
They're made by the same person.
Made by the same person. Are they still like hentai or are they like actual manga?
Looks like hentai.
Interesting.
So I will have a look into it and
we'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll keep it saucy.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all hentai.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh. So yeah, guys, you let us know your thoughts. Is it smart? Is it not smart? I don't know. Me and Beef are of converging opinions here, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll enjoy it. Everyone, stay saucy. Next time on To Be Determined, we'll tell you later because it's to be determined.
It's to be determined. Exactly.
We don't know yet. We'll figure it out.
Beef will give me a revision material, and I'll have like a week to revise it.
Wow, yeah.
Well, actually, more like 3 days.
4.5. All right, but that's what makes it fun because we're never prepared.
No, we're not. I go, hey Beef, what are we recording? Next week?
Next week's fine. That works for me. All right. Yeah.
Right, guys. It's been great. All of you, as Beef said, stay saucy and read Metamorphosis.
Don't do that.
Don't do it. Peace.
Bye. Watch Boku no Pico. Now that's a show.
That's a show.